Recording.
Ladies and gents, episode 37, 2 PTs, 1 podcast. Mike and Miles on a very merry Friday evening. Welcome to our life. We are discussing turning points in fitness.
This is a great start.
I didn't even get the beer in.
If you're watching this on YouTube, this is the difference between someone who has a game tomorrow and a guy who hasn't.
I've got pushed tomorrow, it's fine.
I'm on the quality H2O with
chin. Just missing the orange slice. So we are talking turning points within fitness, within the two of us, because obviously me and Miles have got different backgrounds and also different starting points for fitness. So I think that's also going to be quite funny in terms of comparing the two. And obviously, I would probably be quite transparent in saying that we've both gone through the periods where we look back now and we're like, what were we thinking with our training?
Oh yeah.
But then it's generally sometimes.
I thought for a second there, I thought you was going to say haircuts because I've definitely had some bad haircuts.
Oh mate, lockdown's just proved it for me anyway. Just buzz cuts out all the time.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Mum.
Yeah, more self-inflicted. But yeah, it's basically just going into a bit of a detail because I think a lot of my training, because I didn't start training until I turned 18. I started training at Old College. My dog's going mad. Didn't start training until I was 18, and a lot of it I didn't really do the research. I was going through doing chests one day, shoulders the next day, back the next day, and not actually knowing what legs were.
Typical.
You could refer to them as twiglets at that point.
Twiglets. Sometimes they are. Still are.
I was basically a top-heavy grasshopper.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think a lot of it until when was my turning point? 21, I went away. Ships was just not really that great in terms of training because ships also had the issue of dumbbells. If you put it down when you're at sea, and if you turn around, it's probably not going to be there when you come back.
it just rolls away.
It's fucked off. And like running on a treadmill, that's when you know the arms are needing to be there because you're running.
You're swaying.
Like this. So yeah, that was quite an experience, but I think for me it didn't really start clicking until I started my course, but then also when I came back and I started working for MyProtein, as I started being around people more into the fitness realm itself, but then also just being influenced a little bit more in terms of what I wanted to achieve myself, which I think influence from other people is always going to be the biggest thing in terms of your circle will be a big dictator on your success, but then also the route that you take as well.
Well, yeah, if you're surrounding yourself by people who are like-minded or let's say a lot better than you or more experienced than you in your area of field, then you're going to learn. It's probably one of the easiest way to learn by putting yourself in a room of experts, should we say?
The old saying, isn't it? Never be the smartest person in the room. Never be the strongest person in a room. Never be the biggest person in a room. There's always something to chase, I feel, with training, especially because it's also come back to like weight loss. You don't go through a weight loss process and like, right, I've lost my 2 stone, I'm not going to do fitness anymore, because then you're caught in the vicious cycle again.
Yeah.
In terms of there always has to be a new step, regardless of what it is. It doesn't have to be a massive step. It's just consistency to a certain extent, just so you don't go back and slip into old habits. And that was a big one for me. I was running through potentially a lot of issues at that point when probably 20 to 22, when I started taking it a bit more aggressively in terms of training. And I wasn't really understanding the concept of recovery, of injury prevention and anything else. And my shoulders were done in, my legs were just done in, even though I was training them half a day every 2 weeks. So it's just your acknowledgement of understanding there is better as well. Like there's not just one set standard of I need to be sore all the time, I need to be injured to be making moves in the right direction, because that's going to backpedal you in the wrong direction.
Yeah, but at the time when you doing that you didn't have a clue about that, did you? Like it was all about put yourself to that new limit all the time, and a lot of people do fall into that trap of constantly chasing for that pain, that hurt, that effort. And I mean, it's so easy to say, like I said, you gotta give it all, you gotta give it 100%. It's all about drive, it's all about power, it's all that.
We stay hungry.
It's gotta stay hungry. But as like, I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but like as we've experienced more, as we've gone through our training fitness stage and stuff like that, we've realized that sometimes it's not the hardest sessions that have made the most progress. It's sometimes the most simple and the most effective ones that actually really help us out, rather than the hardest actually physically working sessions and stuff like that. But yeah, all of it comes in, let's say, moderation and time and stuff like that. I've just got what I was going to ask you then for a second. Then, obviously, you say you've been on ships and stuff like that. Like, what was your training goal at that time? Like, what were you aspiring to be, a young 18, 19-year-old Mike Ellis?
Well, I was 21 to 24 when I was on ships.
Okay,
I didn't have the uni, like I didn't have the uni experience because I lived at home for uni. So it's like I didn't do that great of a training. I just did what anyone else at 18 to 21 would do. Went on ships. Training basically just swapped a little bit more in terms of the aesthetic side of things, purely for the fact that I was in nice weather a lot of the time. I was going to a beach, or I was working like in a short sleeve top all the time. So naturally, I just wanted to look better. At that point, everything was aesthetically driven for me. Like you go out, you have some drinks, and like we could convert it into a podcast talking about ship life, because everyone just sees the front. Everyone's nice and happy, like the customer service side, and they don't see like the deep, like, oh yeah, let's go to back deck and drink a lot. And then you don't see the suffering of all the staff being hungover, and they're like, hello, how are you today? So I didn't really have a drive at that point. It was literally just, how can I look good? But that was also very helpful at that time that we didn't have to cook any food. We were just on buffet 24/7. Not a good guest one. Yeah, oh mate, it was lovely. Like I'd go for lunch, I'd go for dinner. It'd be chicken, rice, broccoli, a load of other veg, like decent food for us.
Okay, and gone down the window. I'm thinking of much more naughtier foods. That's
my first contract was a dirty bulk. I was transparent at that point because I was like, oh my God, you're saying I don't need to pay for food? You're saying I can have 6 desserts? Oh my God, say less. Then you realize that you're like, oh no. I know. Then you get dead sluggish for work and everything else. And like people don't understand the correspondence of like just eating a load of crap and feeling like crap. So at that point, I was like, right, no. Second and third contract got really clean in terms of diet, in terms of training and everything else. Still drank. It was the culture on board, and then sort of driven more now towards getting strong, moving better, and injury prevention stuff. So I think a lot of my training now will come more in terms of how can we move more efficiently, how can we move more weight, and how can we move pain-free, which I feel people don't hear. Yeah, but that doesn't make me sound like I'm putting on muscle. I'm like, no, like if you saw like we were about my post yesterday, it's like you don't need to train for muscle to build muscle. It can be a byproduct.
Yeah.
And it's the thing, like, did you coordinate Luke's training?
Sorry, say again, mate.
Did you coordinate Luke's training?
I did, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't imagine you would be like, yeah, no, let's go full hypertrophy. Like, you still instigate certain ways of your systems.
Well, if Luke's listening to this, obviously, like Luke's main focus is his sport, is football.
Yeah.
Luke is one of my clients. He's also a good mate of mine as well. So it was just getting him back into routine and stuff like that. But like you just said, his training and stuff like was all a byproduct of. It's obviously his physique was a byproduct of his condition of obviously he played in sports, himself keeping it committed, consistency, all the stuff that should be shining spotlights and stuff like that. But in the end of the day, it's usually the photo that kind of just gets shone light, and then most people just think curls all day.
Because it can't be asked to see the fine print of this is improved, this is improved, this is improved. Yeah, but look at there, it looks jacked in that photo.
Yeah, it's like that goes in like anything. Like I put a post up today. So today being obviously Friday, of one of my other clients doing bird dogs. Fantastic exercise. Pretty much everyone should be doing exercise, but it's not fancy. It's not pretty. It's not delicious. It looks a little bit stupid. I mean, most exercises look stupid unless they're mainstream, but it works. And it's one of them exercises that I believe that if you can get that right, can massively benefit any type of training and stuff like that. And it makes you feel better, which is the ultimate goal about it.
That's my movement prep. That's in my movement prep for my deadlift sessions.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Like
people just go, oh, well, how did you pull that much weight? Well, you see 5 seconds of
well,
clip.
have you seen righty and lefty here? That's why.
Did you hear me shout lightweight before I pulled that bar?
No.
A part of Ronnie lives inside me.
So you were saying before about obviously a lot of your stuff now is more about the efficiency of movement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When did that point happen? Because obviously you did something before, which I really wouldn't consider anything like that. And we talked about this obviously in the podcast, not last episode, but the episode before. And that's obviously the photo shoot. The photo shoot is very physique based. So let's have a little chat into that then.
Because it's kind of interesting for me to think back on it, because there was always, regardless of what anyone says, everyone wants to be strong. Everyone wants to have that aspect of being able to move things in day-to-day life easier, go to the gym and pull 4 or 5 plates. No one be like, you can pull 3 plates. Have you got any objections to that? Like, no. The focus just driven away from aesthetic because I wasn't too fussed about the food I was eating. Obviously, I'm never going to go into a spiral of just eating pizza all the time, but I was eating foods where I haven't tracked, ironically, since the shoot in terms of calories. But yeah, body composition wise, I'm absolutely fine.
Okay.
Everything is a derivative towards me trying to build strength, because personally I feel that's more of an accomplishment at a personal level. And yes, people see me putting clips on. However, it's not something where it's like I don't deem their worth as my success. It's my success to be saying I've put 45 kilos on a deadlift, which is, to me, obviously beginner to intermediate is pretty standard. Like if you said to someone you're going from 40 to 85 in a deadlift, I think you're pretty, you can say that to most people, to be fair. If you're saying you're going from 180 to 225, like 180 is heavy, 225 is heavy. There's a big distinguishing factor between 45 at a lower level and a higher level. And I just found more enjoyment. Yes, I'm not working that much. Like I think I did a leg session the other day, and I think it was like 10 to 12 sets for the entire session, and I was goosed. I was done in. I could probably count the amount of reps was probably less than 30 as well. But my efficiency within that period, and my enjoyment within that period as well. Because this is also something I mentioned to a client the other day. And it's like, you can build up body parts quicker by your frequency, but it'll also come up quicker by your enjoyment to the movements that you associate with that. If you love doing chest press, your chest is going to come up a lot more than your row that you do not like doing.
Good way of looking at it.
My back has come up quicker because I love deadlifting and rowing, as opposed to a chest press, which I found quite boring. What am I going to put more effort and exertion into out of the two?
Yeah.
It's the corresponding reflection of what I enjoy, what I physically deem as an accomplishment to me as well at an individual level. I'm like, this sounds quite deep. Is this what a beer does? But it's what I personally deemed as an accomplishment to me. And it's also just moving away from the idea that visual things are always key, because it's not.
No.
I have never felt better in terms of how I move, how I feel, and in terms of my, like, how I look as well. Because obviously I'm never going to be walking around stage lean, but I'm at a comfortable point where I can have a beer on a Friday night and be like, I'm happy right now with where I am.
That's a good place to be at, mate.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't look at situations like that. There's always something at a visual level they want to improve next.
Well, it's because I've said that so many times. It's like, it's because we're visual appeal
creatures.
Yeah, we're visual creatures. Like, the first thing we connect on anything is a visual level, and then it's emotions and logic, then the next and stuff like that. So it makes more sense that people initially want to obviously improve not performance, improve their physique, because naturally when they see themselves in the mirror and they see themselves not as exactly what they ideally want, it's going to hit on the emotional level by sure.
Science. The first day you start lifting is the first day you will always feel small. Like there's always going to be somewhere else you want to achieve at that level, unless you don't want to look like Ronnie. Until you find satisfaction in other parts of your fitness, I don't think you'll find it. I don't think you'll find it visually. Until
it goes a lot deeper.
You can't maintain it. Yeah, like I did the photo shoot, and like even you said, a couple of your clients were still like, I don't know why I did it. And it's like, I did it just to prove to myself that I could do it. I'm not going to stay at that lean. There's no point. It just messed with my life even more. I'm not there to do cardio an hour a day. I do cardio when it needs to be and suits to be. Yes, I might go more in terms of the performance aspects and get more sprinting work in and more endurance work in. Other than that, but that's not a visual thing to me. Like, that'll just happen when it happens. I don't need to be around being like, oh. It looks to me like I need to be doing more sprint work. There's not something visually that's going to drive that to me. It's just my personal desire or personal need at a certain sport level.
But it's kind of like it's like what you were saying before about the curiosity of when you're doing a photo shoot. You don't particularly need it. Yes, sprint training is going to be better for cardiovascular, but if your sport's powerlifting or deadlifting or whatever it is and all that, like you're not going to need it. You're going to be more focusing on the actual deadlifting itself. So it's that kind of specificity. Is that the way you say it? It's nowhere near, isn't it?
Specificity.
You're asking
specificity.
You're asking a dyslexic and a drunk man how to say something right.
I'm not that drunk, behave.
Behave. But yeah, it's like...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There's no need
needs analysis. Let's say needs analysis.
Needs analysis, yeah, exactly. That's specificity. Oh, what, for God's sake. It's just not going right. But yeah, exactly. Like, you're not going to need it. Like, you might do it for enjoyment. You might do it because one of your clients is a runner or a sprinter, does some kind of sport where it has sprint mechanics in it. But unless them demands are there, why Why would you need it and stuff like that?
Unless
It's almost like when
you're
you
going
say to a client
individual.
who comes up to you and she's like, "Oh, I want to lose weight and I don't want to run on the treadmill 24/7." And it's like, "Are you a runner?" No, no. Well, you don't need to run on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Like you can get cardiovascular benefits from doing other stuff. Like for me, like I rather run around with a ball at my feet. I'd rather get my fitness in with that. But obviously I love my sprint training. I find it differently. I randomly love having a pole above my head and start doing loads of skips. As stupid as it looks, I really quite enjoy that type of training. I can make some funny memes out of it. But yeah, it's exactly. It's all down to the individual needs. But obviously, like stuff that kind of training it's gonna have an effect on my physique because, like you were saying before, it's habits that obviously elicit that result. But I ain't doing all that to get a six pack. I'm doing all that because I want to beat the defender, or I want to beat an attacker, or something like that, or I want to be the first ball player to that ball.
Like for the amount of work that you're potentially putting into that, the same that we said earlier in terms of me doing strength work and having a byproduct of building muscle, for the amount of work that you're doing that you do not class as boring, meticulous cardio, you might still get a six pack.
Oh yeah,
which is just a good result.
Without sounding like I'm dead vain or something like that. Like I've got a pretty all right physique for someone who doesn't really focus on the six pack.
Yeah.
Like I don't get me wrong, I like looking good. I like looking generally lean and stuff like that. There's definitely a next level I could go with it. But I always find out when I do go that next level, like I get more tired. I don't recover very well. The next day I'm usually like my words start stuttering. I start saying things really stupidly. Like a lot of things affect me more than just an ability level or an energy level and stuff like that. Like even like my anxiety and stuff like that goes up the roof, and I start getting irritated a hell of a lot more and stuff like that. And the only probably if that's the case, the only highlight of my day would be if I walk past the mirror and I do the whole Johnny Bravo thing and I go 9901. There's a good-looking man in the house. Oh wait, it's just me in the mirror. It's like there's no point.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen that reference, I love Johnny Bravo. That's such a good like cartoon back in the day.
It's one of them things for me. Is like if I'm in like a really crap mood, like I could literally go for a walk, be right as rain, pretty much straight away, regardless. Like unless it is freezing, like I could go for a walk now if mentally I was just a bit like I had a ton of stuff going on. 5-10 minutes, come back in, right as rain, regardless of the situation, which is really freaking weird in its concept because it's something that we do daily. But when you isolate it to take you away from certain situations which could be deemed stressful, it just has what I deem as like a completely different effect. Yeah. And it's the same respect of like, you could sit in your house all day and do work, but if you went and you sat in a different part and played FIFA for 10 minutes, it might completely de-stress you.
Oh, FIFA stresses me more, 100%.
Especially when me and you play.
I've definitely said some rather things I regret saying. Not FIFA. It's definitely not a good game for stress. Well, it's definitely a stress release, but it definitely causes more stress.
Yeah, like, but it's directional. It takes the direction away from that kind of stress that you're typically going for.
Yeah.
And more towards something where you can actually be like, I don't have to think about that. And I feel like strength training does that for me as a visual aspect in terms of, unless I fail and like drop a plate on my face, I don't really care how I look. Because I'm going to look like an idiot. That's what I was trying to run at, not the fact that like I'm going to have a plate mark on my face.
You're not good at these analogies, mate, are you? Last week,
no, I like some are good, some are just a bit off. I mean, so I'm a bit like hit and miss with them, but yeah, for me, it was just a big directive in terms of what I deemed as a reward from training. And at personal level, pulling more weight and being able to move more is more. And to be fair, this actually cracks me up today in the fact that I actually found a true purpose for my strength. When I was standing at self checkout and there's an old woman on the other side of the self checkout and she couldn't open a bottle of water because she wanted to take tablets. And I was like, would you like me to open that for you? And I was like, and she said, yeah. And I was like, hell yeah.
Just like life.
All the training for now.
Everything zooms in and you're just like, oh,
my time has come.
My time has come. The moment of my training has arrived. And all I said was, you're welcome.
I just walked off into the distance.
So yeah, never to be seen again. Away with the dust.
What about you anyway? Because I know obviously you've got experience with your granddad.
Yeah, so obviously for people who don't know, my granddad was a pro bodybuilder. So I got pretty much thrown into the deep end with the bodybuilding stuff. I mean deep end. I remember like the first time like I first started training and stuff like that, and immediately he was talking about steroids, and I was like, "Granddad, no, we're not going down that path. I'm staying as natural as I possibly can." I gave the lie of like, "Yeah, I get drug tested at football and stuff like that." I didn't even play. The only team I was really playing for at the time was like school. But again, like, yeah, but like again, like that young kid, a lot of my motives was being, it was more of it was a visual things at first, like, but I got quite bullied for my weight. Like I was always like, if I started running, I would always hear in the background, "Run, fat boy, run," and stuff like that. So I've never been the type of person when I was younger was like, I wasn't bothered about sports at all. I enjoyed, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed football. I played football in primary school. But I was more the keeper or the defender that just ran into people. I just enjoyed because if I did do that, I got that attention. And that's what I was looking for at first. Like I came into fitness because I kind of wanted attention with things. And that sounds really sad and stuff like that. Oh, notifications bugger off. But yeah, so I started him with that. And obviously, like, I'm quite lucky in the fact that my granddad showed me at the ropes. So a lot of the stuff I was doing at the beginning was generally all right. So I had a kind of good background with that. And as I was kind of, let's say, getting leaner, getting fitter and stuff like that, and I started getting that kind of attention where people will come up to you and go, "Oh, wow, you've lost a great deal of weight," or "Oh, wow, you're looking big. What have you done these days?" and stuff like that. Or "Well done, you've worked so hard on yourself." Like a Miles that kind of age, being 17, 18, like it was such a weird thing for me. And I almost didn't like it at first because I never took well to attention when I was younger. I would always shy away if I had 4 or 5 people talking about me and stuff like that. Even in football training, I just used to just quiet down. Wouldn't believe how now I'd chat away till sun come home and stuff like that. So, but that generally stayed the same, really. I got obviously more and more into fitness as like my degree went on. So, but I always considered myself more as an artist than someone who liked fitness. Fitness was always a hobby. I just played football and did fitness at the side of doing art. But always like people just like came up to me and just naturally thought, "Oh, you look lean, you've been lean, you look like you've been lean all your life, or you talk like you've been lean and active all your life." And then one of the key points that I always say to people that made a big change in my life was when I broke my leg. And I've talked about breaking my leg a few times on this podcast. And just that moment away of going, like, I can run around, I can kick a football, I can tackle, I can do this, I can do that. I could do the basic stuff. I could walk, I could run. That was taken away in a moment of seconds, to the point where like I'd had to get like help getting showered and stuff like that because I couldn't get into a bath. Like for me, a 21-year-old lad who's just about to gain confidence and stuff like that, that was a soul destroyer. I think like I still get taken the mick out by that from my family by that all the time. Like not being able to like look after myself and stuff. Like I couldn't get up and make a brew. I pretty much sat on my ass for 3 months. And yeah, pretty much just
That's
like,
driving mad.
yeah. And that's it. I mean, I finished Breaking Bad in 5 days. I mean, it wasn't that bad. Started my Instagram page. I literally woke up, Breaking Bad, went to bed, Breaking Bad, literally all throughout the day. So it's a world record. I put it on my CV. I swear that's probably what got my job right now. But yeah, but then like obviously,
are you
like
secretly a chemist?
I was just like plotting. I was like, that, loving this. But yeah, just fast forward to then when I'm fully recovered and stuff like that. Like I enjoyed training more because I saw them kind of newbie gains as well, but I saw it from a different light. I didn't see it from right, I'm seeing more quad development and stuff like that. Even though it was interesting to see a massive difference in size from my left leg, the left leg that wasn't broken, and the right leg that was, literally like it was like a chopstick on the right. I had no calf. I literally had no quad. And I couldn't. I know exactly. It's still, I mean, semi bigger now, but all that, but not as bad as they used to be. But yeah, I saw it as stuff like that. And I think that was for me. I think that's what really took fitness over my art. And I only recently just found out that I've been doing my job longer than my actual art degree. So I can no longer kind of say I'm Miles the artist. I'm Miles the PT, personal tip.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I've got that. I'm gonna have to check actually. I'm close to 2 years, but obviously a very, very interesting 2 years.
Yeah. But that's it, like for me, that they were the biggest kind of turning points in my kind of fitness. Obviously, when I became an actual PT and stuff like that, like I went from going from a smallish pond to a biggish pond, where I realized very quickly, like a lot of the things that my granddad taught me were generally all right. They were good knowledge, but there was more to it. There was more of a scope to it, and seeing things from different light and stuff like that. And then it wasn't really until like kind of lockdown where I kind of really started challenging stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, ever since I broke my leg, ever since like kind of stuff like that, that's been the biggest changing point. And then obviously, I probably say after I did my strength and conditioning qualifications, or when I first started my strength and conditioning qualifications, that was the point where I kind of went, right, if I want to take this, let's say, to the next level and let this impact my sport, because a lot of it is, I do a lot of this kind of research to kind of go, right, obviously this is going to benefit my career, this is going to benefit my future and stuff like that, it's going to benefit my clients and future clients. But I did it also somewhat to go, if I know a bit more about this, I can become a better player too. So it was a little bit of a selfish intention for it. But that was a bit where I kind of went, right, okay, maybe now I should start thinking a little bit more like an athlete, a footballer, rather than someone who trains bicep every few days and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I still do the odd bodybuilding type of stuff. No, I still kind of like that kind of training, but a lot of my trainings are skips, hops, jumps.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've touched over 100 kilograms in quite a long time now. And obviously my physique is completely changed because of that. But
yeah,
my physique is changed in ways I wouldn't expect. So it's an interesting aspect from that kind of range.
In what you would consider good or bad?
Oh, good. I mean, let's just say, man's got a peachy bum. Them sprints are definitely coming in handy. I put the P into peach.
I mean, yeah.
And I just said before I wasn't vain. That's 100% a lie. I'm probably one of the vainest people you'll ever meet. But I'm modest. I'm modest about it.
Miles will give himself a quarter turn in the mirror and stare at his own arse, is what we're hearing here.
I'll be like, there's a bomb in the place. It's my bum. The bum is a bomb.
I thought I was the king of dad jokes. Oh my God.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, mate. You got to understand that reference.
And the bomb.
Your bum is the bomb.
The palm is your bed.
But yeah, it's like I like even now, like I'm content with what I know. I'm comfortable speaking it out, but in a way, I feel like very much I'm only just beginning. I kind of like that.
I think that's why I transitioned into going to the gym as well, because a lot of my youth was just doing long distance running, and I was always like the smallest kid, and I think to a certain point I was sick of it, and then obviously that would reflect through how I was treated at school. And this is getting deep. So obviously there was just a certain point where you just get sick of it, and then there's one quote I heard, and it's from Ships, because it's always made me laugh, and it was, oh god, nothing makes people more jealous than seeing someone having a good life. And that reflected a lot on me in terms of like how I was treated, and then how I like developed into like how I look now and the lifestyle that I've lived and everything else. Like, yes, I'm a PT, but then I've been to 34 countries. Like, I'm very happy with what I've accomplished. I know I have a lot more to accomplish.
And that's the beauty of it all. Like, they say the sky's the limits. Like, the only limits there is the ones that you put in yourself.
Yeah, like I'm not going to settle in terms of like the goal for deadlift is 250. Once 250 is down, don't think I'm stopping at 250.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't think that for a second. Like,
yep, that's
that
it.
Is a step.
I've completed deadlifts. No more.
Yeah. I'm not going to push to Eddie Hall's kind of 500, 501 territory, but in the respect of where I want to accomplish, there's a lot more in terms of business, personal, relationships, financial, and everything else that I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Before I even start slowing down the momentum of what I want.
Yeah.
And that's not going to stop just because I did a photo shoot or if I've gained a certain degree of strength. There's always a new level of progression across the board at some degree. If you're not progressing, like I'm always trying to learn something. I'm not trying to learn something, I'm trying to progress with something else. In the same respects of like, it's not hard to pick up a book. It's not hard to figure out how to do something new. It's not hard to just go and try something new or progress with what you're currently doing. And I think that's where people hold themselves back in terms of how you do something is how you do everything.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like I was saying to you before, like when I was going back and doing like my degree, my dissertation and stuff like that, I, for the love of God, hated picking up a book and researching, even though I had to do it.
I hate PCP.
I mean,
I'm a PC.
Yeah, just like, but now because of this job now, like I've got no issue picking up a book about periodization and reading 5 pages or 6 pages or whatever a day. Like, it's that different kind of enjoyment, and that's been like I said, a somewhat not direct effect of my fitness, but something that one who's been interested and stuff like that. And it's shown through like research. Like you might not need to go into the level of researching books and stuff like that. I know you're collecting your books right now. If people on YouTube, Mike's literally just like, look at me and look at all the studies I've done. But like,
it's a fact of what I said earlier. I'll let you finish your point, please.
I was going to say, like, you don't need to go into degree of that. You don't need to buy 60, 80 psychological Bibles on the anatomy, but like just your willingness to push and just find one more thing that's going to really benefit yourself and stuff like that. Oh, look at that. Mike's got a anatomy book.
I was going to make the point in the fact that I literally did physical education at A level and I hated anatomy and psychology. And I've literally got anatomy and exercise nutrition. And I'm like, if you said this to me 5 years ago, I'd be like, ha, you're taking the piss.
Yes.
Now.
That's it. And that's the beauty.
I love it.
Like, Yeah, easily the best thing I could have done, majorly.
So it's just how you transition through your education and everything else, and then also just the application in terms of if something is important to you, why is it important? If you don't deem it important, you're not going to follow through with it.
That's true. And it's just like you said before, what the whole back and chest analogy and stuff like that. If you enjoy it, you're going to do more of it and stuff like that. So you might as well, if you're someone who is focusing on that fitness aspect of your life, do it for the enjoyment. Don't do it for the results, because the results will come, as we've both mentioned, as a byproduct and stuff like that. But then when you do get that result, don't just stop there, because majority 9 times out of 10, you'll just go back to the way you were. There's a reason why you got to that point. Why the bloody hell would you stop that?
Yeah, you went through all the turmoil to get weight loss and everything else. One, why would you do it again? Why would you want to do it again? And two, how much easier has your life become since all this that you've achieved has happened?
Yeah.
So why would you want to backtrack that?
Yeah. Also, as well, one thing like I want to quickly mention about this before we finish up on this podcast, it's like, notice how both me and Mike have talked about our backgrounds, but also most of the hardest points of our, let's say, journeys and stuff like that, because it's usually them that shape things forward. And it's like anything and stuff like that. When you deal with issues, pain, drama, stress, injuries, the list goes on. Like, yeah, in the moment and all that, feel it 100%. But at the same time as well, you've got to look at it as, right, how's this going to improve me? What opportunities this brought to you and stuff like that? Because again, when I broke my leg, I learned a lot more about my own kind of body. I learned a lot more about what my physicality is. Well, just even the fact of learning from a 21-year-old lad that I wasn't invincible, that was a big game changer for me, and it made things change for me. So if I can look at it like that, what's stopping you from you looking like the way that your problems are right now? If you are currently faced with an injury and stuff like that, what can you learn from this? How can you progress with it? Remember, the answer is only as good as the question you ask.
And also in the fact that me and Miles have just listed off a couple of different things that we ran into in challenges, it doesn't also mean that we're not going to run into challenges in the future.
Bang on.
So that also means that there's no perfect starting point because you're trying to avoid a certain situation that's going to make it better or worse.
Yeah. And more likely,
regardless of what you do.
Yeah. And more likely, if you fear it, you're more likely going to attract it. So you might as well head that on, bang on, head it on, challenge it, decode it, whatever you want to do, but then look past that and look at your strengths, look at your positives, exactly. But yeah, but right, a very deep ending to this podcast episode. I quite enjoyed that. Bit,
I did actually. It's quite deep now.
A passive story life and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, and share the video. If you're listening to this podcast on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that, same again. Make sure you give us a review. Make sure you give it a like. If you put any polls on these podcasts, please question. We always like to hear feedback and stuff like that, or any kind of answers that we put onto the polls. But yeah, guys, we hope that you guys enjoyed the video. We'll see you all next week for another exciting episode of 2 PTs, 1 Podcast. And on that note, peace.
Peace. I'll call my hands.
And...
my hand.